In the first 3 months of 2026, Boeing shocked the aerospace industry. After 5 straight years of trailing its only real competitor, Boeing suddenly delivered 143 commercial aircraft, beating Airbus for the first time since their major manufacturing crisis began. This chart shows the 2026 delivery race. Boeing took the lead in Q1, but by May, Airbus fought back to retake the top spot. The gap narrowed to exactly 12 aircraft, a tiny fraction dictating billions in shifting revenue. For the last half-decade, one company was in free fall, while the other took over the skies almost by default. This is a story about how a 50-year rivalry was pushed to the breaking point, and why the race for control of the skies is suddenly more volatile than it's been in a generation. To grasp why this 12-plane margin is so tight, you have to rewind to the 1970s. This was the era when Boeing rolled out the 747 and achieved absolute dominance over global aviation. This chart illustrates the scale of that dominance. Add up Boeing and McDonnell Douglas, and American manufacturers controlled roughly 86% of the entire commercial jet market. It was a monopoly with a waiting line. In response, France, Britain, and West Germany pooled about $532 million to launch Airbus. At the time, this joint consortium looked like a bloated political jobs program that just happened to make airplanes. No private investor would touch it. The financial risk of developing a new commercial jet was too high, and the payback horizon was decades away. Only national governments, desperate to protect their domestic aerospace engineering capacity, had the patience to fund it. To break a monopoly of this scale, Airbus focused on changing the day-to-day costs of every flight an airline operated. They didn't just need a larger plane, they needed a more efficient system. They started in 1974 with the A300. Airlines were skeptical of flying a wide-body jet with only 2 engines over long routes, so Airbus forced the issue by pricing their aircraft up to 20% below the competing DC-10. In 1987, the A320 arrived with a shift in core technology, digital fly-by-wire controls. This replaced physical mechanical linkages with a system where the pilot's inputs went directly into flight control computers. This diagram illustrates the result. Because computers manage the flight dynamics, Airbus standardized the controls across their entire fleet. A pilot trained on one Airbus model could transition to a different size with minimal extra instruction, which significantly reduced an airline's total pilot training costs. By lowering the cost of flying and training, Airbus absorbed market share model by model, eventually taking the #1 spot in total deliveries by the early 2000s. In late 2018 and early 2019, 2 nearly new Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft crashed shortly after takeoff. 346 people were killed. Investigators traced both tragedies to a flight control software called MCAS. Relying on a single angle of attack sensor, the system repeatedly forced the nose of the aircraft down, overriding the pilot's attempts to correct the dive. Regulators around the world responded with a 20-month global grounding of the MAX fleet. Boeing faced a criminal investigation, massive fines, and indirect costs that analysts estimate approached $60 billion. In January 2024, a door panel blew off in Alaska Airlines MAX 9 at 16,000 feet. This suggested the crisis extended beyond a single software error, exposing a breakdown in manufacturing quality control. While Boeing spent 5 years paralyzed by investigations and production caps, Airbus maintained consistent deliveries, solidifying their position as the market leader by default. Boeing did not lend its lead to a more advanced airframe. It lost it by allowing its manufacturing integrity to slip in an attempt to keep up with the market. Which brings us back to the tight delivery race of 2026. Airbus is now facing its own constraints, a supply chain shortage of Pratt & Whitney engines, which limits how many completed planes they can actually hand over to customers. Boeing is attempting to stabilize by buying back Spirit Aerosystems, the supplier responsible for their fuselages. This is a move to bring quality control back in-house and convince regulators to raise their production caps. This graphic shows the reality of modern aerospace. Between Airbus and Boeing, the current combined sold-out order book represents roughly 10 years of factory output. Because of that backlog, winning a single new order today has very little impact on the immediate race. Airlines are simply reserving a slot at the end of a decade-long waiting list. The competition has shifted away from sales and toward industrial execution. The winner is no longer the company with the best marketing, but the one that can physically build those backlogged aircraft the fastest without another failure. Leadership in this industry is never permanent. It is rented, one delivery quarter at a time. Even a company with a 60% monopoly can lose its position within a single generation if it stops treating quality as its primary product.